But hey, we're stoked because we're starting to transition on into Just Talking, where our guest is Clem Jones. I mean, oh my gosh, I said Clem Jones. It's Ollie Jones. Duh. Ollie Jones and Clem Garritty.
Garritty.
Yeah, I already butchered it.
Garritty.
It sounds like a really kick-ass, like, God of War, like, character, right? But they are the co-founders and creative directors of Swamp Motel, and they are joining us for Just Talking to discuss their latest interactive virtual detective experience called Plymouth Point. How's it going, Clem? And I know Ollie's probably having a hard time. He's probably still trying to hack out of the whole Plymouth Point experience.
He might be the next person missing in Plymouth Point. It might be him.
But you know what's great about this is that I love that you guys are doing. It's the hardest thing to try to explain to your peers, your friends, or even your parents. So I can only imagine for the first time when you guys are starting to come up with the idea of what Swamp Motel is. How did you two explain the project to your mates or even your parents?
So I guess nice use of a British colloquialism with mates there. I like that.
he can say mates, but he can't say Garritty.
I play so much God of War, you would think I would say Garritty's right? It sounds like you're like an epic side character in the video game world. It's cool. And I feel like that's where Plymouth Point is going.
Ollie, why don't you tell me, as your mate, how would you describe Plymouth Point?
I guess we just thought it would be fun to create an immersive detective experience using a lot of what's already on the internet. So adding a few bits to an experience and letting a lot of the internet do the talking for itself, so that when you start playing it, you're not sure what's real and what's not real. And that way, hopefully, it feels a lot more realistic.
Yeah, I think that's what we were sort of excited by, was the idea that you as the player has all the agency. And really, the platform is just the whole internet. You have to go off and solve this mystery, and all you're really told to do is find this girl, and you're given her name. No one ever really says go on her Facebook or hack into her emails, right? But people do it because we're used to using the internet either to stalk our exes or to post photos of ourselves. And people seem to really get a kick out of being a detective and using the tools they already have to find someone.
So you're teaching young millennials to bypass all the password interfaces and know how to control Facebook, YouTube, and gosh, we even went on to Yahoo Mail at one point. And on a level, I sort of compared this to like an escape room. Do you guys like that term, or do you guys like to see yourself as something else?
I think in this context that makes total sense. We're actually so Swamp Motel itself is a collective of artists and theatre makers and directors and set designers and stuff like that. And we started making more like corporate brand experiences a few years back now. And yeah, we sort of like doing everything, so long as it's giving an audience member some agency and, they get to explore a world themselves, then that's kind of what we love to make.
And let me throw this at Ollie, because I'm sure your parents probably thought you were crazy when you wanted to add the elements of theater and Zoom together. They probably had no idea what Zoom was. And they're going, why would you leave the traditional stage to do a virtual reality experience? What was that first reaction like?
Well, leaving the stage turned out to be maybe a good idea as the pandemic hit, and that there's no stages to be on at the moment, but also they've been supportive of that in a way for a few years, like tolerating it whilst always encouraging you to maybe try something else. But I can also confirm that having played it, they're no more. They've got no further understanding of why we use any
Are they the baby boomers? Because I want to get my dad on it and stuff, and I'm just like, wow, he would fail. His doctor asked him to do a Zoom conference, and he's like, Zoom? What's that? Can't I just come in?
We've found that with families, it's best to assign a brother or sister if you have them to help the.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, Ollie. With my experience, at least with Marissa and my artistic director Jody, you do not want to bring your date on this. Do not go alone, because if I'm gonna be a sex ed teacher for any of the listeners out there, your sex life will be destroyed playing this with your girlfriend.
I have to
by
agree.
Yourself.
You cannot. You can do it as a single person. You can have a buddy and go on up to 6, but if it's just you and your significant other, you might not make it
You will be tested on every level.
I almost killed Chris. Jody jumped off, and then it was just me and Chris, and I'm like, I'm going to kill you. You're making me try to hit the wrong buttons.
It's a big exercise in communication, definitely. We've learned that.
Yeah, we should market this as couples therapy, maybe.
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Before you get married, play Plymouth Point, and you'll know if your marriage will succeed. There.
And as much as we do make a joke about this, I really do believe that with Swamp Motel and Plymouth Point, I think you guys are onto something I've never seen anybody else do. This is the first time I've ever experienced this kind. I even feel like it's wrong to even say virtual reality, because I feel like it's more of like a virtual interactive experience. You know, you're turning everything from, you know, webcams on, you're going digitally hacking. I literally feel like I'm like Born Ultimatum, you know, on a level, trying to figure out what's going on with this individual character, Ivy. And, you know, before we get into it, I was so curious. I have no idea what the theme of Swamp Motel even means. Are you trying to make fun of us millennials? You know, we don't really have the luxury life of living in a household, and we might have to settle for a swamp motel, or is there something other, anything bigger than that?
It's a very... Ollie, go on.
Okay. So the name came from when we started the company, and we were moving from theatre into like trying to do work for brands, and we didn't have anything really. We had like a bunch of plays that had done really well, but that's not what people look for when they're hiring you to do a branded experience. And so everyone else had an agency with like video and a portfolio, and we didn't have that, so we came up with this place called Swamp Motel, which we kind of went about shrouding in mystery. As we had nothing to show, we thought we'd at least, you know, make people curious about what it was and bring them in that way. So that's where the name came from. Yeah,
and it works. It actually works, because I was like, what is this? So mysterious. Let me look into it.
Well, especially with the Swamp Motel name and then putting next to Plymouth Point, it really does make you feel like you're on edge. And, you know, Ollie, you just kind of mentioned something I think is interesting, and I'm sure your mate Clem can add on into this. But I know with theater, you know, you guys kind of joked with me yesterday that you kind of felt like theater is kind of so used to the 400-year-old experience, and they never want to be very much innovative in these times. And how do you see, you know, Plymouth Point maybe excelling in the future, what theater can bring? Because I always kind of thought it's like, you know, we're in the digital technology realm. Why aren't we embracing it more when it comes to live theater?
I think theater is just famously underfunded, especially over here. Like it's hard, and we have like a good arts infrastructure here. We have an arts council, we have ways of accessing funding, but it's still really, really limited. And therefore, when people get the opportunity to get a chunk of funding from that council, they probably don't want to spend 80% of that on tech, right? Because that's going to be more expensive than paying people. But I agree with you. Like, we've definitely worked with really innovative theatre companies in the UK who are pushing the boundaries of working with live performance and tech, but they're not the people who are on the West End or on Broadway or anything like that. So I think that sort of commercial theatre is very slow to adapt. And like Ollie said, it's kind of biting them in the backside right now a little bit with COVID, because you have a set auditorium and a set stage, and it's been that way for hundreds of years. And because it maybe hasn't necessarily adapted as much, it's hard to now see how it's going to be able to work in a socially distanced world.
That's a good point. Yeah, Marissa, you were going to say something.
I actually had a like crazy idea, because you know how they have theater where you have to like move into different rooms with the stuff with a lot of walking, which I don't normally like to sit and watch. But I mean, it's a cool experience. And I was just thinking you guys could take this, and when people are done COVIDing, you can have like little sets. So it is like an escape room, but it's multiple rooms where they have to figure out the passcode to get out and kind of go through there. So it feels like, I hate escape rooms because you're stuck in one room. Right? And you're kind of like, versus like maybe a mansion, and you got to like go through. I don't know. There's so much.
Well, you guys were kind of hinting at me that there might be a Plymouth Point Part 2, and you guys are starting to think about using more than just the laptop. I mean, what are some of the new interactive technology that you guys are hoping to implement in the future with your Swamp Motel's production house?
Well, I should say to begin with, that's sort of the world we come from, Marissa, is the world of immersive theatre. And working with companies like Punch Drunk, who sort of, we were both alumnus, is that, I don't know, of. And I think, the reason we built Plymouth Point is because we're used to building those amazing multi-room experiences for audiences, and lockdown prevented us doing that. So we thought, what's the next cool version of that? I think what would be cool when this has made us realize it's really fun. You can get people playing along at home. What would be fun after COVID is, the ability to maybe start chapter 1 on the computer, and chapter 2 invites you into a live experience, and chapter 3 is maybe on TV, or, that excites us, I think.
That is amazing. And I have to just quickly say, my moral question, like my moral character came into question during your thing. I'm not going to say anything. All I know is that when people play this game, you might have to kind of look deep inside yourself and realize how evil you are. And I am someone who you should not be alone on an abandoned island, because I'll kill and eat you, I think.
That's what it was designed for. It's designed to weed people like you out.
Yeah. Do not be alone with me.
Designed to weed.
Oh, we lost Chris. He needs to get better internet. But as he kind of jumps back on here, has Brexit, we're going to kind of jump a little bit, has Brexit had any impact on your lives when working in the arts? Obviously, COVID has completely swapped things around, but what about Brexit? What's going to happen with the arts and Brexit?
I don't know, to be honest.
I don't think the Prime Minister even knows, okay?
No one knows the arts.
It's like, we before Swamp Motel, we worked in Fringe Theatre, and kind of still do to an extent. And, like Clem said earlier, it's always super hard to get funded anyway. So it's already a difficult situation without the political upheaval that Brexit will bring. And like what it means now, I don't know, because there's also a pandemic which has completely changed the potential of audiences being in a room together anyway. So I'm afraid I don't have an answer. Maybe Clem does.
No, well, I don't. I think you're right. And also, I mean, we both can I say it? Well, no, I won't say which way.
I mean, you're on video on air production.
Well, I mean, can I say how we voted? I don't want to talk for you, but like I know. I voted to remain, and I think we're European. We sort of feel European, and it's been 4 years of like. To be honest, we're quite bored with talking about it now, and in a way, COVID has been like a fun new thing to talk about. That sounds glib, but I think like every other industry in the UK, the arts like massively relies on like immigration and like from behind the scenes to performance to agents to like everything. There's like, that's how this country runs. So it's slightly confusing, like all other industries here, from healthcare to I don't know, like leisure. Right, it's all gonna feel weird, and I think we don't necessarily see that. I don't think there's gonna be any massive benefits to our sector.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you guys are very much a decentralized group, and I'm wondering how large of a production house Swamp Motel is. Are you guys like a small core of individuals, or is it something where you have to have a massive crew to put on a level of this virtual interactive experience for people around the world?
No, we're really small. There's 4 of us in the core team, and then we have so tiny.
Yeah, because it feels like it takes more than 4 people to create a story like you guys did. Because
we should say that more. Yeah.
No, because really, because when I played Plymouth Point, it reminded me a lot of the Da Vinci Code, and you guys would add this realm of like history, but I couldn't tell really if it was true or not, and I think it was kind of questioning my instincts about the realities that are happening in 2020 today, where people can't justify what's real or fake news. And I think that's where Marissa was touching on a little bit a couple minutes ago. You were questioning our morals because we would start going down a direction that we think we should be going to, but someone behind the scenes is telling us, you guys steer back in the right direction. And is that kind of something that you guys are trying to play on, is kind of the technological habits that the youth have, during these times?
I think so. I guess
go on.
You go.
I love it, mates.
I was going to say, I guess we probably rely on it more than doing it by design. like we kind of have an idea of how people behave with these different interfaces and websites and so on, and try and make sure that we can coax them into the next step just through their natural intuition and natural behavior with those things.
And I think I liked what Chris had kind of touched on about the Da Vinci Code. So I could, obviously being as glib as possible to give nothing away, but it does go back into time in a sense about, where was humanity? Where was always our moral character? I kind of like, I'm a huge reader, and that actually is what sucked me in, was the history you interweaved with the game. So to me, it didn't feel like, oh, I'm just like looking for something or whatever. But I was like, oh my God, like I want to read this. I want to go back and read this history. So I like bravo for that, because I'm a huge history buff, and that was like cool.
Well, I mean, oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, like, we jumped on that once we started looking at those historical stories, because they're super interesting. And again, without hopefully giving anything away, there's a clue near the end where if you go back and actually read through it in detail, it's an amazing window into history and into people's mindsets a few hundred years ago.
And are
you
by
the way, okay, so the next one you guys put together, I would like it to be a pub crawl. So when I come to London with my husband, we can actually do an immersive pub crawl while doing a mystery, please.
Well, it's funny that you say that. Aren't the pubs opening up next week in the UK?
Next week, yeah.
How do you guys feel about the pubs opening up?
We feel quite differently.
I think it's crazy.
Do we now?
It's crazy.
You think it's crazy? I mean, I think it's just as much crazy too. I mean, here in the state of California, we literally had to start mandating people to require masks at all times, because people are kind of starting to think that it's a hoax. I actually have people that are real close friends with me that are literally telling me this whole week that they think the whole COVID-19 thing is an absolute hoax now. And they don't believe the numbers, because there's a conspiracy theory going around that you can type any 3-digit number or 4-digit number on Google, and it will literally always say that there was a coronavirus case for that number. So this random conspiracy theory is starting, and I feel like that's sort of what Plymouth Point hints on a level. It's like if you go too deep diving into something, you might realize that you might not find the answer at the end of that page on a level. Do you guys get concerned on a level for that? Because I mean, I thought that was sort of crazy that the pubs were opening up in the UK.
Yeah, I think it feels sort of stupid. I mean, it's the classic, I think, seesaw of recognizing that. So we've been really lucky in that we trade on live experiences, and yet we have found a way of creating, a revenue stream. Even though we aren't able to do live experiences, we're still making an experience that you guys on the other side of the world were able to play.
So amazing,
right? In a way, that's even more amazing. Whereas I feel slightly for the pub at the end of the road, who there's no way of them digitizing pints of beer, right? And so I'm conflicted. I think it's stupid. I think it's by the government, but not by the landlords of the pubs. So it's hard.
Well, let me throw this at you, because I think this is sort of a challenge. I mean, Marissa just stated, during her TLDR segment that the world might go down in flames in 6 months if we don't address this climate change. Would that make you change your mind if the science experts are saying that maybe we should get the economy going and, get the climate? I mean, and it kind of made me question. I mean, I'm challenging my mom on a level. I don't know if I want to take out the trash for another 6 months if I don't have to. So what are you guys' thoughts?
Well, yeah, I guess we should all be trying to do what we do. We'll do what we can. I don't know if not taking the rubbish out is going to be great for your personal sanity. But like, there's other things, there's other things. Cut down on single-use plastics.
Do you know what people should do before the end of the world in 6 months? Is experience Plymouth Point. And if you can tell our listeners where they can find Plymouth Point, where they Swamp Motel, all of your social media, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can get tickets on plymouthpoint.co.uk/tickets, or via swampmotel.co.uk. And then we're on Twitter at Swamp Motel, Instagram at Swamp_Motel, and Facebook Swamp Motel London.
That's right, and let's not forget this is going on until August 2nd, right, boys? August 2nd. That's what I'm talking about. And
you got a month. You can do it.
Got a month to check out this incredible experience because I know my summer plans went to shams, and now you have something to do. Check out Swap Motel's latest virtual interactive experience, Plymouth Point. Thanks for joining us, guys. Ollie and Clem, and hopefully we'll have you guys back on in the future.